So we started off with the fifth one, because last week or the week prior, 2 weeks back, where we closed was on the fifth verse, where Krishna says, I am the two energies. There are two energies that I have. One is the inferior, or the lower energy, and the higher energy. And then he goes to explain that all of these living beings are manifested from these two energies. Etad yonini bhutani sarvani iti upadharaya. Aham kritsnasya jagatah prabhava pralayas tatha. So I'm also, everything rises from me and everything dissolves into me. So there are different philosophies that have come into being, right? Advaita, Vishishta Advaita, Bheda, Bheda, Advaita, Advaita, Advaita. There are several philosophies, and all these philosophies use Bhagavad Gita as the basis, and they continue to describe their philosophies using Bhagavad Gita as the anchor. So, which means there are so many philosophies or interpretations that can be drawn from Bhagavad Gita. Correct? And each philosopher or each philosophy uses the same shloka, uses the same verse, and says, see, Krishna is telling about this philosophy. So each one creates their philosophies using the same by means of interpreting it differently. And each one says that this is the right way to look at it. Correct? Every person, every philosopher who has come out has tried to describe. They have described it in a way that, and they will have very substantiating logic, nyaya, and they'll have substantiating logic, or they'll have ways, drishtanta, what is called as drishtanta, or explanations to describe why this is the right way to look at it. Okay, so which means we can look at it in different ways, and you can look at it in different ways at different times also. So is one philosophy better than the other? Is one philosophy higher than the other? Is one way of looking the best way of looking? Necessarily not. It is for each one to figure out what suits them, and also at different times in their lives. There are times in your lives when you look at a certain thing in a certain way, and the same thing you look at it differently. Correct? We've had these experiences. The same truth can be approached or interpreted in a different way depending on your life experiences. And particularly when a guru comes into our lives, like for example, people have had many different experiences with Mahaperiyava. So the way they experience this knowledge will be very different, the way they perceive it, because their experience with Mahaperiyava would have been in such a way. So there are such correct perspective shift. So this shift in perspective happens depending on what experiences you gain in life. So here, particularly this particular verse, he talks about, Krishna is saying that I am perceived as two different energies. So there is a way to perceive God in an impersonal way, and there is a way to perceive in a personal way. I can perceive God as a personal God. My Krishna is the greatest. My Bhagavan Narayana is the greatest, or my Devi is the greatest. And then we see this verse, or we see that there is Brahman, which is the greatest, which is the all-pervading Brahman. And then you see these verses. Whichever way we see, these verses should appeal to us. It should not create conflict in us. I was talking to somebody, and if you see the next few verses that we chanted now, we will see where Bhagavan Krishna is telling that I am Buddhimatam, I am Buddhi, I am the Tejas in the Tapasvi, I am the Buddhi in the Buddhimatam, I am the light of the Surya and the Chandra. I am the essence of water. So this one is talking to someone and they're saying that, why is this person Krishna over glorifying himself? Correct. So it may also appear that, there is, see, just look at it. Krishna is standing there in the battlefield talking to Arjuna. And on one side, Sanjaya is narrating this to the king Dhritarashtra. So when you look at it, when you're listening to this, it may appear, because when you're looking at somebody like Krishna in the human form, it may appear that why is he over glorifying himself? Or why is he saying, I am this, I am this, I am this? Right? So if in bhakti, when you look at it, when you look at this in devotion completely, it'll be fine. Because when you're devoted to somebody, it'll appear completely okay to glorify that individual. A lot of people, when they're in the guru's ashram, for example, and say the guru is great, my guru is great, my guru is great. Anything you tell about the guru, it'll seem fabulous. Any small thing that the guru, ayyo, guru panna. Ayyo, my guru drank coffee today. So drinking coffee will become a big thing. So people go in these frames of mind where you over glorify something on the outside, and that over glorification is very nice, very good, as long as there is a certain process that gets triggered in the within us. Some process needs to get triggered. That is important. The glorification of the other is not important for their glorification. See, even now you see around the world, people do a lot of things. There are people going around with flags and glorifying Rama and Krishna and this and that. And there are people on the other side, which means by what I mean by the other side, and other religions, other faiths, they glorify their own faiths. It's very nice to do that, to tell the glories of one's faith and one's belief systems. But the fundamental process within, if we lose, then that glorification is just it's something that politicians can use to their advantage. It becomes a political movement. See, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and did bhakti, it was not a political movement. He was completely absorbed. And that movement, that bhakti movement that happened, was complete absorption of his mind in Krishna. People who just followed him, Krishna Premi, Sri Krishna Premi, who was there until very recently. A lot of these people who lived in that consciousness, when you just go with them and follow that devotion, you hope that some of that devotion also comes into us. Right? So this is this has to be the important thing there is, they are great, whatever they are doing, whatever they did. But how does it impact me? So where Krishna is saying, I am these two energies, the lower and the higher, everything rises from me and dissolves into me. You can look at him as Paramatma, or you can look at him as Brahman. So you can look at him as the personal Narayana that is there in the Vaikuntha, or you look at him as this Brahman or the supreme consciousness which is there, which is all pervading. Either ways, whichever way we want to look at it, it will still work. You look at it completely in the eyes of a bhakta as a devotee, or you look at it as the supreme consciousness which is all pervading. A lot of times it's difficult for many people to look at God as a person, because a person immediately becomes limited. Right? He has hands, legs. And what about animals? Why God has to look like a human being? Why can't God look like a big bull or a dinosaur? God can look like a dinosaur, right? But we want to see him as a human being, because that association, that is bhakti. And devotion you can associate with this individual, and then you think of this individual as a superhuman being who's capable of doing everything, from whom everything is coming out and going in and all of that. But that being which we are talking about, you can't perceive that being. It's no longer really a human being. It is a being. It is just a being, right? If a being needs to have so many sahasra shirsha purusha sahasraksha sahasrapad, how do you visualize somebody who's got 1,000 heads and 1,000 eyes and 1,000 noses and 1,000 legs and 1,000 hands? Somebody asked sahasrakshi sahasrapad sahasra shirsha purusha, the purusha has sahasra shirsha, 1,000 heads, then sahasra akshi, 1,000 eyes, sahasrapat, 1,000 legs. So then here he is calculating. If he's got 1,000 heads, then he should have 2,000 eyes and 2,000 legs, right? Problem is you're limiting that the number 1,000, and we are looking at the limited human personality. No, it's not like that. So whichever way we perceive, it's up to us how we perceive it. That doesn't negate what is being said here. At the same time, it doesn't necessarily just over glorify some personality that somebody's got in their heads. No. Whichever way we want to achieve or perceive this. He's saying that I am both these energies, everything which is the lowest, which means there are three forms usually this world is looked at. Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara, or Chit, Achit, Paramatma, which means the sentient beings, all objects that are sentient, or creation that is sentient, which has life, and then objects which don't have life form, and then the creator or Paramatma, from which everything emanates. Okay? So if you look at just two, it's saying Paramatma and the Jagat. Paramatma is the higher form and the Jagat is the lower form. In Jagat, you have two, the Jiva and the Achit.
Like the two forms of energy, like if you consider Krishna as not telling about himself but about the Brahman, the greatness of Brahman, then the two energy forms can be considered as Paraprakriti and Aparaprakriti. Yeah.
Correct. Absolutely.
Lower nature and the higher nature of Brahman.
Of Brahman itself. Correct. The Paraprakriti is the unmanifest. The Apara Prakriti, the Para Prakriti is the, the Para Prakriti is the unmanifest, the Apara Prakriti is the manifest. So you can consider it that way. So when Krishna here in these verses, when he's saying I, he's referring to that same consciousness which is within us, the same consciousness all pervading, the consciousness which is in each one of us. Right? So he is making that reference. Now here he is trying to say, there is nothing higher than myself. Mattaf parataram nanyate. Kinchidasti dhananjaya. There is nothing else that is higher than me. Mai sarvamidam protam sutre manigana iva. So as though in a sutra or a thread, how the money, the gem, the beads are strung together in a sutra, in that way, everything that is here is strung on me. Again, the me that he is talking about is this, that his existence that is in this manifest world. Like Mama said, the Apara Prakriti, the manifest world, because in the subsequent verse, he is going to talk about the three gunas. And the manifest world has the three gunas. So in this manifest world, everything is strung as beads strung in a thread. Everything here is strung in me as though beads are strung in a thread. What does it mean? It means that if the foundation of everything is in me. In me means in that consciousness. Because there is a school of thought called Charvaka. In the Charvaka philosophy, according to them, everything is only matter. And consciousness is a product of matter. And the way they explain is, somebody came and told the Charvakas, how can you say consciousness is a product of matter? Where is consciousness in each of the matter? You can't see. Where do you perceive consciousness as matter? They say consciousness comes out of matter in the same way how red color comes out of eating a beetle leaf. So their explanation is, you take beetle leaf, you put chunamba, you put this thing, you put beetle nut, all of that. None of that is red in color. But when you chew it, at the end of it, there is red color that comes out. So where is the red color coming? It is coming as a combination of all of that. So in the same way, consciousness is a combination of matter. This is the way Charvakas describe. Right? In philosophical terms, whenever there is this conversation happens between different philosophies, they explain it this way.
But
But
see, like matter, um, matter is, it cannot form the substratum for the consciousness. Yeah,
correct.
because
Which it's a very loosely found. It's a very loosely that philosophy.
example may be right for that particular context.
Correct.
But when we we see that matter is something different and consciousness is different. And because for matter, the very existence is from the pure consciousness. Yeah.
Correct. So the emanation of matter comes
Yep.
from this consciousness. Now, if you look at the Advaita way of looking at it, it will say that matter is a product of consciousness, because the consciousness is the only thing that exists. Matter does not exist. Matter does not exist as reality. It is as though it exists. As though. But if
Mithya.
you... Huh?
Mithya சொல்லலாம்.
Mithya. Correct. It is as though it exists. But if you look at other philosophies like Vishishtadvaita and certain other Dvaita philosophies, it will say that matter exists independently, although it may have come out of consciousness, but it exists independently. There is reality, which is what I said. There are three realities, eternal realities, which is Chit, Achit, and Paramatma. This is another way of looking at it. But the reason I brought this, the Charvaka view, Charvaka are atheists. They don't follow the Vedas, or they don't follow any authority of the scriptural injunctions. At the same time, all they believe is there is no life after this life. You're here, you're just born, you live, eat, make merry, die, go. That's all. According to the Charvakas, that is all that is. And so they have their philosophy. But then, of course, it's not a very strong, solid foundational philosophy, right? But then other philosophies are much more stronger, which is Vedanta, for instance, is a much stronger philosophy to establish the fact that, which is being right now, even science is moving in that direction to find out that there is something which is fundamental to matter. Matter is not the fundamental nature of things. Like, in fact, even there is a whole philosophy around Vaisheshika. There is a Vaisheshika philosophy, which says matter is, Anu is the fundamental nature of all things. But then through Vedanta and through further study, we understand there is something which is fundamental, which is consciousness, which is Satchit Ananda, which means it is ever conscious of itself. That awareness is always there. So this is that awareness, that consciousness, whether I exist or you exist or none of us exist, this consciousness is there, because everything rises from this, dissolves back into this. This is always existing. How do I know that? Because I don't know my start and end. We always feel we are eternal. Yes or no? Do we ever find that I have been born and I died? Do you ever have that experience? You don't. Which means you're eternal. You're always there. The only thought of birth and death is a thought. Death is only a thought for us. We have not seen our own death. We don't know how it's going to be. At the same time, we have not seen our own birth. Somebody told us you were born, you were so small, you were this, and you grew and all that. And somebody is telling us if you die, there are different stories. What will happen to us? We ourselves have never experienced. Which means what? In our experience, we are always existing. Right? We may grow old, we may become incapable, we may fall off, we may, all that may happen. But you will never experience loss of your own existence. So, Manigana Iva, as though the beads are strung in this consciousness, always eternally existing, everything is there in me. In me means what? In this consciousness. Even we taking birth and falling off is probably like a bubble that's coming out or a wave that's rising and falling back. Because in true essence, I never experienced the loss of my existence. So he's saying that is what I am. When Krishna is saying I am to Arjuna, he's saying I realize this, you still not realized it. That is what he means to say. He doesn't mean, one way of looking at it is also like this. When the guru is telling the Shishya that I am this and everything is strung on me, it means the Shishya is also that. It's just that he has not realized it. The guru has realized it. Same thing happens in Ashtavakra Gita. Till Janaka is being taught by Ashtavakra, till the discourse is happening, till Janaka doesn't get it, Janaka is just listening to what Ashtavakra is saying. Ashtavakra is saying, I am this, or he's saying, you are that. See, there are two ways of giving jnana. You say Tattvamasi, which means you are that, or say that Aham Brahmasmi, I am that. Only two ways of saying this. Right? You are that. எனக்கு புரியலையே சாமி அப்படின்னா சரி நான் தான் அது இப்படியாவது புரிஞ்சுக்கோ. And then you fall at my feet. You listen to what I'm saying. Or I'm telling you, you are already that. Why are you struggling? Why are you suffering? So when Ashtavakra is telling this to Janaka, there are several, it's a beautiful Gita, Ashtavakra Gita. The initial conversation is where Ashtavakra is telling to Janaka this. And then after a chapter, Janaka realizes this. He gets that realization during the discourse itself. And so they are such high evolved souls that during a discourse they get this. So he says, Aho, now I know. Janaka says, Aho. Aho means, oh, idha solrelo. This is what you mean. He comes to that understanding. So here Krishna is telling I, because Arjuna is not in that state of understanding that he is also that. And then Krishna keeps going between back and forth, saying, I am this, you are also that. I am this, you are also that. Right? He keeps going back and forth. 8th verse, now he will 8, 9, 10, he will say the same thing. He will say, I am the taste in water. Rasa aham apsu. In water, I am rasa. Kaunteya. Prabhasmi shashi surya yoho. In Shashi, in Chandra and Surya, I am the Prabhasa. I am the light. Pranava sarva vedeshu. All the Veda mantras, the root mantra, the root sound Om, that is I. Shabdaha Ke Paurusham Rushu. I am the sound in K, in the ether, in space. And I am the in the Paurusham in all the human beings. Paurusham means the ability to do something. I am that. We'll look at the 9th one also and the 10th one, and then I am the fragrance, Punyo Gandha Prithivyam. In Prithvi, the Gandha, I am the brilliance in the fire. I am Tejaha Asmi Vibhavasau. Jivanam Sarva Bhuteshu. I am the Jivana in all Bhuta. Tapaschasmi Tapasvishu. In Tapasvi, all the Tapasvi, the essence of the Tapasvi, I am. See, now you see both the energies are there. We will come to that. We will see both the manifestations of this this consciousness. Both manifestations will appear. You'll notice that. Bijam mam sarva bhutanam. I am the essence or the bija in all bhuta. Through which, that is the essence through which everything is born, right? The root, the seed. From the seed. I am that seed. Vidhi Partha Sanatanam. Know this, Partha. Buddhir Buddhihi Buddhimatam Asmi. I am the Buddhi in the Buddhimatam. In the intelligent people, I am the intellect. I am the Tejasvinam Aham Tejasvi. Or Tejasaha. I am the Tejas in all those people that you think are glorious or splendorous. I am the splendor. So now what has happened in 8, 9, 10? You notice? Both of these are mentioned. Apsu Rasaha. I am the essence in. So replace what I am as the essence. So everywhere, notice this. In Apsu, in water, I am the essence. I am the taste of water. I am the essence of water. In Shashi Surya, in Chandra Surya, what is the essence of Chandra and Surya? Light. I am that. I am the essence of Chandra and Surya. In Veda, what is the essence? Sound. And what is the basis of sound? Omkara. I am that. So I am the essence of the Vedas. Then what is the essence in Nrushu? Means human beings or us. It is the ability to do something. The Paurusham. The Shakti. Paurusha Shakti. I am that. So the essence of. So essence of water, I am. Essence of Chandra Surya, I am. Essence of the Vedas, I am. The essence of all human beings, I am. Then the essence of Prithvi, earth is fragrance, I am. All of that, the fire, the brilliance of the fire, I am. In all life forms, the seed, I am. And in all the tapasvi, the tapas, I am. Bijam, again, the essence of all the living beings. Bijam Sarva Bhutanam, I am. In the intelligent people, the intelligence, I am. And in all the glorious or the wonderful or the great people, I am that glory. Now, what is happening here? He is, beautiful, Mama. He is like Shiva Shakti. Mama has explained it's like Shiva Shakti. It is both the Shiva Shakti that is operating here. So, if you look at one is the potential, the other is the kinetic, which means one is the ability and the other is the expression. The ability and the expression. The ability and the expression. One is the substratum, one is the expression. That is one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is the lower form is the innate, the jada. The buddhimatam person is jada. Without the buddhi, he is jada. The tapasvi is jada without the power of the tapas. In Surya Chandra, without the light, they are jada. Water without the rasa is jada. Earth without the fragrance gandha is jada. So jada porulla, I am the higher Shakti. I am the power. I am the power. I am the essence in all of this. Which means what? Again, going back to that point, which means in all of this, it is that essential consciousness which is exhibiting itself through everything. And why is he saying this? Why is he saying so many examples? It's easy to say that I am in everything. And he said that before. All of these he's just repeating again and again and again because some of these ideas, just saying that I am in all of this, it's not an easy idea to get in. You repeatedly say, I am this also. I am in this also. I am in this also. செருப்புல இருக்கியா? செருப்புல இருக்கேன். என்னோட பனியன்ல இருக்கியா? ஆமா. என்னோட தலைமுடியில இருக்கியா? ஆமா. So there is this a friend of mine who was part of this Brahma Kumari. And he had trouble with this. One morning we were going to office. Correct. It is to insist he's in both forms. Correct, Gayatri. Morning I was going to office and then we were having some philosophical discussion, debate like this many, many years ago. And then we were just getting ready to office and I said, we need to perceive divinity in everything. And that is the way to to integrate whatever you call it divinity, integrate it into your life. You have to see that in everything. Once we see that in everything, then it'll become easier for us to integrate and become more inclusive. So I was explaining this, and then he had difficulty because, I think in the way he was taught or whatever he understood, he said, no, you can't make divinity, bring it divinity into objects of daily things. It's too pure, too sacred. My problem was that if you keep something too sacred and too pure, then I will not be able to associate with it. You'll always keep it. You'll put a frame, you'll put a mala, and you'll put divinity on the wall. So we had this discussion, right? And then he was getting ready for office, and he said, I was wearing my sock, one socks I was putting on. He's saying, are you saying God is in that socks also? I said, yes, of course. He didn't like it. You mean to say you're wearing God in your feet? So that it creates a bit of
when we go to the Advaitam philosophy, everything is again Ishvara, all
correct.
objects.
Ishavasyam sarvamidam yatkincha jagatyam jagat. Correct. It is there in everything.
When we ourselves are when we are prompted to say Aham Brahmasmi,
correct,
then everything else falls in line.
It is a part of that. Correct. It's a part of it is a different manifestation or expression of the same idea. Now, how do we want to associate with, if we feel that it's too pedestrian, I think somebody just used that word. It is, if it is too kocheyakardunu solluva Tamil, that's a word. To say that it becomes, make it very pedestrian. They don't want, a lot of people created this idea of God so high up there that I don't want to bring it to my daily things. Right? I don't want to bring it down and make it small. But the problem is, then you will never be able to integrate it. Correct. Whereas kids, we were told to say sorry even to things we step on them. Correct. Everybody and all that, right? The important thing is, when we start showing reverence to things, then you value them. And then you use them in the right way. And so a lot of those things also start developing in us, right? Or else if you think that, no, God has given all of this for me to enjoy, then you'll become frivolous, right? The way we will engage with the world will become very frivolous. We will become very disrespectful of things. And that is where we consume a lot, and we believe that we're privileged for a lot of things that we get. So when we build this idea that whether God is in everything or not, it's important to revere everything, have that sense of reverence, and it's an expression. And this is the difference. One of the differences that the way at least the Catholic world thinks of God is, there is a God who's transcendental, and there is no God. He created the world and he's outside the world. But this part of the world looks at God as someone or something that has created. This manifestation has happened from God, and God is also, he also percolates this creation. He's also existing in creation, which is why attaining to God or achieving to God or getting closer to God or being in sanidhyam or presence of God becomes easier, because he's not something out there, and it's not something to be achieved after death. It is something that you can experience while living. And that is a very powerful idea. That is a very powerful idea, which is why when even Krishna says, I have higher energy, lower energy, I am here, this, that, and the other, it means I am the jada, and I am also the consciousness in the jada. There's a very beautiful explanation I've heard about how consciousness exists in Jada also. Consciousness is whatever consciousness is a substratum. It is to the object how much it reflects consciousness. So a stone versus me, the difference is that the stone is not able to consciously reflect that consciousness as effectively, but I am able to, which is why you see me as a living being, which is why you are able to engage and interact with me, but not with so much as a stone, right? In its natural form, I'm saying, in its natural form. Of course, there are stones that are used for consecration, which now starts reflecting consciousness in a far better way than as a human being I can, which is why we go to a temple, fall at the feet of a stone. Right? It can be risen to that state. See, imagine, think how funny it is. We say it's a stone, and I am a human being and I'm a much greater, higher consciousness, but we go and fall at the feet of a stone in a temple. கரெக்டா? கோவில்ல போய் கல்லு பார்த்து தானே காலில் விடுறோம்.
அதுக்கு பிராண பிரதிஷ்டா பண்றது நம்ம தான் பிராணமே கொடுக்குறோம் அந்த ஸ்டோனுக்கு.
Correct. So there is so much prana that is infused into that stone, which retains that consecration as part of prana pratishtha. The consecration that happens, it retains that, and it's now able to deliver it to us. And now we become smaller in front of that. We are smaller beings in front of a stone. Right. So this is the idea of energies, the higher and the lower, the jada and the jiva. So he is saying, I am in both. I'm existing in both. And I am the essence in all of this. I know we took a lot of time today because a lot of verses will talk about how Krishna talks about himself in this fashion. Till now, he has not done that. But from now onwards, you will see, till now, Krishna has been telling about the philosophy, concepts. He's been giving concepts and he's been talking about truth, Brahman. But now he is trying to suddenly make it personal. He's saying I. He's trying to say I now. And when he starts saying I, then it becomes a problem. Right? Now, how do I suddenly see this man who's standing in front of me as suddenly somebody so great? In chapter 11 and all, it will be even more difficult because he'll say that I was born even before Vivaswan. I taught Vivaswan. So,
அதான் நினைச்சேன் I taught some Arjuna வந்து குழந்தை சொன்னார்.
Correct. I was there even before the Surya Bhagavan. I taught Surya and all that he will say. So it will be very confusing to look at it in that perspective. How is that this man is standing up and saying this I? And see, this is possible. I mean, unfortunately, we have not lived in the times of Ramana Maharshi, for instance, right? If we were there and we were able to go and see and talk to him, then he would talk something like this only. என்ன பேத்தின் இருக்கா அப்படின்னு தான் தோணும். பேத்தெல்லாம் இருக்கு அப்படின்னு தோணும். Because you're existing in that state of consciousness all the time. You're not getting down. And what is that state of consciousness? You're always seeing everything as one. And Namaka actually, to a lot of times when you go and talk to him, in fact, there's a very nice way Swami Sarvapriyananda says. He says Brahman is useless. He says Brahman is useless, which means if you're wanting to attain Brahman or you're wanting to attain Jnana, adukku prayojaname kadayadu. Prayojanam means there is no transactional use of it. Because I achieved Brahman, I become a Jivan Mukta. Will I suddenly become the CEO of a company? Oh, ni Jivan Mukta napa vapa CEO position eduthuko. Nobody is going to give that. Nobody is going to suddenly do that to you. In the transactional world, attaining realization is absolutely useless because it is of no use in transaction. So when you talk to somebody like a Ramana, after a certain point, it will feel பயங்கர வேஸ்ட் இவர்கிட்ட பேசி என் ப்ராப்ளம் இவருக்கு புரிய போறது இல்ல. He'll not understand my problems. That is exactly what we'll feel. But he is seeing it from a completely different perspective. The way, and if we get a glimpse of that, that's it. That's enough for us. We get a glimpse of how somebody like a Ramana or a Mahaperiva or a Paramsa Yogananda or a Swami Shivananda or a Shirdi Baba, how they perceived this, we get a glimpse of the way they're seeing this. That's all it takes. Right? It is just their compassion that they're operating at our level and making things for us. Like, for example, Shirdi Baba. You go and ask them the most stupidest of things. என்னோட குதிரை எங்க காணும்னா போய் தேடி கொடுத்தாரு அவரு. Those who have read Sai Satcharita, you'll know the story. To that Muslim fakir, he'll come searching his kudurai, he'll say, go find the horse there. That's a stupid thing, right? I mean, here you've got a self-realized being who's sitting there from whom you can draw the nectar of knowledge and understanding, and we'll end up asking something like that only. வீட்டில் எனக்கு மோதிரம் தொலைஞ்சு போயிடுது, எங்க இருக்குன்னு சொல்லுங்க. These are the things that are important to us. Correct. Mahaperiyal will also say, people will come and ask the most stupidest of things because that is what matters to them. But nobody will think that, okay, let me sit and see how Shirdi Baba is perceiving all of this. How does he see the world? How does he see people? What we do, our Bhagavan, finished, khatam. And you make him Bhagavan, you put a photo, you put a mala, and that's it. Samadhi. அதனால தான் அவளுக்கெல்லாம் சமாதி கட்டி வச்சிடுறோம். Because that's all they are. They become a samadhi and they become a stone there, and then we go and pray again. What we do, we go and pray for things I want. How many times have we sat and thought, how do they perceive this world? How is it that they see all of this? How do they see Jiva Jagat Ishwar? How are they able to be one with divinity? How can they close their eyes and feel the presence of divinity right there, right then? How is it unbroken for them? How is it unbroken? I go to a satsang or I listen to a nice, beautiful kacheri. I feel so heavenly great. And then after that, it breaks for me. How does it not break for them? These are things that we need to think and ponder about. How do I maintain that constant recognition that right now, right here, it is available, it is there. Doesn't matter who says what. And doesn't matter whether I'm sitting in a Leela palace or I'm sitting in a kutir. That presence is there with me all the time. When we know this, then you know Baba is with me all the time. You don't need a Baba to do things for you. Baba is telling, I'm sitting there so that you can have the same experience that I am having. What does he say all the time? Shraddha Saburi, patience and faith. Have patience and have faith. And this we keep all the time. And what do you get at the end of it? Not a yacht and a big island in your name. That is not what he's going to give you. And even if he gives you that, then it's a sorry state. We missed the whole point. You're going to a Mahatma, like Mama is saying, go to a Mahatma and then you ask this, he'll give you that and finished. What after that? How do you maintain? All the problems come along with it. So it's important that we recognize this, the Jada and the Jiva, the Jada and the Paramatma, both are fused together, which is what Krishna is saying, that I exist, Manigana Iva, as though beads on a sutre Manigana Iva, on a thread of consciousness. Beads are like that. Everything is like a bead. Now, can we perceive it like that? Can I perceive that I am that sutra? What we think immediately, we think, oh, Krishna is the sutra, we are beads. No, let's think as though I am the sutra. Can I think like that? I am the Sanatana Sutra. I am the ever existing sutra. Whether I am, the idea is, even if there is this Narayana that is there and I'm a part of that Narayana, the whole idea or the concept, but that is there within me all the time, right? It is there within me all the time. Now, can I bring my attention to that consistent, constant presence which is there within me all the time? This is what that means. Then whether we stand up and talk like Krishna, that is secondary. But we understand it that it's not, it is not just that on Krishna I am a bead, but that Krishna presence, that Krishna consciousness is within me all the time. So that is the idea where Krishna trying to position this. And as I said, this can have hundreds of different interpretations, right? Hundreds of different ways of looking at this. But in my opinion, the best way to look at it is, how do I, and again, as a spiritual sadhaka, if you're a true sadhaka, if you're a bhakta, you can always just be in the mode of bhakti. And being a bhakta is also very difficult, right? It's not easy, because being a bhakta, you have also completely surrendered yourself to whatever happens. You're saying Narayana is doing everything, Shiva is doing everything, Mahadeva is doing everything, good, bad, ugly, everything. Can I be in that state? And then we start analyzing, no, why did he do like this? Why did he do like that? I am surrendered. So we question, I have surrendered myself to you, which means you should only do good things to me. Whatever I feel good. So this whole equation becomes transactional, right? So there is no bhakti there. It's transaction. In the name of bhakti, also we are just fooling ourselves. If you're bhaktas, be like that. If you're very intense sadhakas, wanting to know the truth, then be like this. Take that presence within and see how that Krishna presence, Baba presence, Guru presence is constantly within me all the time. And then all of these will make sense. I am the light of Surya and Chandra. I am Surya. Tatra Suryo Bhati na Chandra Tarakam Nema Vidyuto Bhati Kutoyam Agnihi Tameva Bhantam Anubhati Sarvam Tasya Bhasa Sarvam Idam Vibhati. It's a Veda Vakya. All the Surya and the Chandra and the Tara, where do they get their light from? They get it from me. If I don't exist, they don't exist. You are there today to tell that there is Surya, Chandra, Tara. When you're not there, they don't have any existence. So we spent a lot of time on 5 verses, but I think it's kind of, in a way, also foundational, because a lot of these verses will start flowing in where Krishna is talking about himself, and he is seemingly glorifying himself. So we try to look behind it and try to see, our meditation should be, how do I look at myself? How do I look at myself as this presence of Krishna within me? You understand, it's a very important distinction. Not that I am Krishna is that and I am this. Rather, whatever I am, that Krishna is there inside this. Inside this, that Krishna is always there. So it's a slight shift, but it's a very important shift, because this is the difference between just being, like my guru will say, there is a difference between being a devotee and a disciple. Saying you can be my devotee, I'll tell you nice things, I'll just bless you, I'll give you good things. But if you want to be my disciple, it's not easy. Because I'll put you through a lot of difficult things. So life we should be like that. We should be willing to take up difficult things in the process of ultimate understanding, truth. And then we become a true disciple that way. Right? And also a true bhakta, and also a true jnani, and also a true karma yogi, all of that. You become one, you become all actually. It's very interesting that way. It's not you just are one. Once you become one completely, you become all of this. Okay? So that's the beauty of this. Om Kayena Vacha Manasendriyeva Buddhyatmana Va Prakrite Svabhava Karomi Yatyat Sakalam Parasmai Narayanaye Samarpayami Sadashivaye Samarpayami Jagadambikaye Samarpayami Sadgurunathaye Samarpayami Hari Om Tat Sadgurubhyo Namah. Hari Om.